I've always had this dilemma when trying to save money on buying a new smartphone. Should I go with a cheap new phone, or should I go with an old flagship that's cheap? Yeah, these older flagships might be 3-4 years old, but a lot of these flagships, because of those great internals, are able to perform really well for a long time. Now, these new budget phones, while they are new, they have lower end processors to make up for that price tag, and really that's where it kind of worries me. How are those cheap new phones really going to perform over time, even a short period of time? How are they going to continue to perform? Well, I've had the Blu G91 Pro for about 10 months now, and brand new, this phone costs $200. $200 for a brand new phone. But is it worth it? Hey guys, welcome to Untitled Tech. My name is Jonathan, and let's talk about how this budget smartphone, the Blu G91 Pro, has held up over the last 10 months. Performance-wise, like I mentioned in my original review, this thing has a MediaTek Helio G90 gaming chipset. So this not only is a budget smartphone, but it's a budget gaming smartphone, which just means better performance than just a normal budget smartphone. Now, I'm always wary of the MediaTek processors. I just feel like over time they start to slow down and they just don't perform as well as they did when they were brand new. That's really the case for all processors, but especially for the MediaTek processors. But I've been proven wrong so far. This thing has surprisingly held up really, really well. The phone is still quick and snappy. Applications open up quickly. This phone is still able to handle really any mobile game I've thrown at it. Now, software-wise, I'm not a huge fan of the skin Blu has on the device. It's not a really heavy skin, but I just don't particularly like it. But that's the great thing about Android. You could just throw another launcher on it and it makes it feel completely different. I've used Nova Launcher on the Blu G91 in the past, but surprisingly, I've been using the Microsoft launcher, and surprisingly, I've really liked it so far. It's simple, clean, and it works well. Now, one issue that I did have with software is the Earpiece Speaker just stopped working all of a sudden. So whenever I would go to make a phone call, I couldn't hear anything when I would put the phone up to my ear. I would have to put it on speaker to actually make a phone call. I tried everything to make it work. Now you might think that's not software, that's hardware, because the speaker stopped working. But it wasn't until I factory reset the phone that it just started working again. So it definitely was a software bug that just kind of got reset when I just reset the phone. I'm not sure what happened, but it works now. So it was just inconvenient that I had to actually reset my phone. But the good thing was it wasn't the actual earpiece. It was just more of a software bug inside the phone. Now, battery-wise, this phone is still amazing at battery life. And that's probably the #1 reason you would go with a new cheap phone like this as opposed to an older flagship. The battery is brand new on a new phone, right? And as we all know, over time, battery capacities start to decrease, which just means less battery life. But this phone still gets me through a full day, no problem. And that's probably thanks to the large 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside, which is a large battery capacity for such a cheap phone. And not only that, this phone is capable of 30-watt quick charge and has 10-watt wireless charging, which is fantastic. That's great for such a cheap phone. Usually wireless charging is the first thing that gets left out of a budget phone, but we can see that Blu didn't cut corners, or really that many corners, with this very budget phone. So performance-wise, that was my biggest fear with these budget Android phones. I felt that they were gonna start off really, really well, but over time, they would start to really slow down, bog down, to the point where it's almost unusable after a year. But after 10 months, this almost feels the same way it did when I first got the phone. So honestly, Blu should get some credit for that. They did a really good job when it comes to the internals of this budget phone. I'm also really impressed with the display on this phone, especially for the price tag. The display is a big 6.7 inch, 2400 by 1080 resolution display. It's a sharp display, colors pop, and it has more of a oversaturated look to it, just like Samsung phones and their displays have. So if you like that type of display, you're gonna love what's on the Blu G91 Pro. Now, with that being said, the display is kind of ruined by the speaker on this phone. It's just, the speaker is just not very good. It gets loud, but the speaker sounds really muffled and tinny. This phone has a great display, and I just wish the speaker was better. But once again, this is a $200 smartphone, so you can't expect too much. They had to cut corners somewhere, and it looks like the corner was cut with the speaker. But honestly, I just feel bad complaining about anything on this phone because it costs $200. Now the camera on the Blu G91 Pro is also pretty impressive for the price tag. You're getting a quad with a Q, 4 camera sensors on the back of this smartphone. 10 months later, I'm still enjoying the flexibility this camera system offers. You have all the features that a more expensive flagship offers, like portrait mode, night mode, macro mode, slow-mo video, and more. The pictures and videos you're able to capture on this phone are honestly pretty good for what you pay for. And it's really hard for me to imagine a 3-year-old flagship phone doing a better job. They probably would do a better job. I mean, they're a flagship phone, but this phone definitely punches above its weight class when it comes to camera. It's obviously not the best camera system that I've used, but once again, you're getting great value from this camera. And chances are you probably don't have all the camera features that this phone has on an older flagship, because 3-4 years ago, we just didn't have all the camera features that we have today. So really, 10 months later, this $200 smartphone is still really impressive. Software-wise, performance-wise, feature-wise, this phone has really held up. You definitely have features here that you just won't get with an older flagship, like internal storage. This has 128 gigabytes of starting internal storage with a micro SD card slot, so you can add up to 256 gigabytes of storage. And for comparison, the new Galaxy S22 has the same starting internal storage, and that phone has no micro SD card slot. You're also getting a headphone jack on this phone, a fingerprint sensor on the back that's working really well so far, and I honestly can go on and on about all the great features this phone has. Now, it is a plastic phone, which kind of makes sense for that price tag, right? You definitely expect plastic on a $200 smartphone, and honestly, that might be an area where an older flagship is better than this phone. But because this phone is actually made of plastic, this phone has held up better than an older flagship probably would. My phone is still in really good condition, even 10 months later, and honestly, a flagship phone with a glass back, metal sides, it's just not going to hold up really well. You're going to get those scratches. If you drop it, you're probably going to crack it. You're not going to have those same problems with a plastic phone. So if you just want a cheap phone that you don't have to worry about, plastic is probably better. Honestly, what this has shown me is that budget phones have come a long way, at least the right ones like this one. Blu is doing something right here, and if you're on a budget and you can't afford the super expensive flagships available now, which are really expensive by the way, you should definitely consider the Blu G91 Pro or the other variety of smartphones that Blu offers, because they make some really great value smartphones. I'll leave a link to the Blu G91 Pro in the description below. Let me know what you think of these budget smartphones. Which one is your favorite? Which budget smartphone do you prefer? Let me know with a comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos just like this one on tech news, reviews, and opinions, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos, and I'll see you on the next one.